A Zimbabwean woman living in Japan posted a TikTok claiming that a South African official was xenophobic because the official wanted to verify her South African driver's license before she could use it to obtain a Japanese license. What I don't understand is why people are so quick to label situations like this as xenophobia without acknowledging the bigger picture.
You know that video I made about that lady that went to the South African embassy in Japan and tried to get her license issue has really brought out all sorts of people out of the woodworks, you know.
Japan has finally banned South African embassy. So South Africans took this xenophobic attitude down to Japan. They took this xenophobic attitude and they took it to Japan, the embassy in South Africa. I'm gonna be sharing the video for you all to understand where I am heading to. A particular Zimbabwe South African woman, was studying in Japan, and she went to the South African embassy because she had the South African ID, but she was bullied. In fact, the rate at which the embassy in South Africa treated her, you guys need to watch and hear from her because it is too much. South Africans will do that xenophobic in their country. They will still leave their countries to some other countries and still acting xenophobic to their fellow Africans. Let's take a look at the video. As you're watching, kindly share, like and subscribe.
So today I came to the embassy, the South African embassy, to get an affidavit for my license. I'm doing a license conversion to change this license into a Japanese license. When I first started this process, I was told by the Japanese center that I can't proceed to write, mainly because my name is abbreviated on my license, so I should get an affidavit to basically confirm that this is my license. I came to the embassy today, and Lord, the amount of xenophobic experience I just experienced right now at the embassy. Fine, I'm a Zimbabwean staying in Japan. Before I came to Japan, I was staying in South Africa. I was studying in South Africa. And during the period, that's when I obtained my license. I came to this embassy and I gave them the documents. When I arrived here, I was assisted by a Japanese lady who then took my documents and went to the back, and she came back with a South African lady who then asked me, do you have any proof to state that you were in South Africa during the duration that you obtained the license? I told her that I was studying. I took out my passport to show her my visa. She didn't take it. I was like, what do you want? I can show you proof that I was in South Africa during that time. I've got bank statements, I've got everything. And my stay in South Africa was legal before I came to Japan. That is how I even was able to apply for my Japan visa to come here. I went to the Pretoria Japan embassy or consulate in Pretoria. You can't apply for Japan visa in South Africa if your status is not legal. So I told her all this. Mind you, I was calm. Before the tone from that lady just showed me what the moment she saw my passport that it's Zimbabwean, she didn't want to tolerate it. She's like, right now, the traffic department told us that we shouldn't certify this people who come with licenses that are obtained in South Africa. And she went as far as to ask me, how did I obtain my license? And I told her that in South Africa, anyway, actually, if you're a foreigner, if you want to obtain a license in a foreign country, you need to be there legal, which is how I obtained it. She asked me the center that I obtained my license. I told her Rosebeck Center in Durban. And she still insisted that this is a fake license. Even after I gave her the document, she didn't want to look at it. And she's like, no, right now there's a few Pakistanis that came last week and I couldn't certify it because we were told by the traffic department not to do it. How can you conclude that foreigners in a certain country can't apply for a license when they are there illegally? And how can you conclude that it's illegal? I'm in Japan right now. If I wanted to apply for a Japanese driver's license from the beginning, the step, without converting this one, I can apply for it because I'm here legally. But she concluded that no, I am a foreigner. I was in South Africa, so I got this illegally. I'm not saying that there are no people who get their license illegally, but I gave it to her. She could literally call the department and confirm, but she didn't want to do that. Right now, the time is literally 11 a.m. When did she call the department to confirm this? For her to conclude, no, my license is fake. This is giving a xenophobic type, and it's disgusting. It is disgusting. I was angry. Like, I just walked out of there with so much anger. I literally started crying just because I was filled with so much anger. How can a fellow African conclude? Because I'm sure if it was a white person who came with a license to convert, she wouldn't have said this just because I have a foreign identification.
You know, sometimes when you don't know something, if you don't know, and you are not well versed, and you don't have an idea, and you don't know how things work, it's better to keep quiet. It's better to keep Jacinta. It's okay sometimes to keep quiet. It's not everything that you must not every day kumele wenze umsindo ngaleso sikhathi uyabheda. You're only displaying your stupidity. That is the worst part of it. And now, because you're constantly talking and constantly posting nonsense, it's difficult now for people to differentiate what is what. Your mind works like the mind of a mad person. It's chaotic. Because any and everything you're posting falsehoods, you're posting false narrative, you're posting misinformation, wrong statistics, you're posting. I don't know where you're pulling them up from. You don't do research, you don't check, you don't ask questions, you just post. And I just hope, njengoba Mr. Mkhize was saying, I hope Unaledi Chirwa wipes the floor with you. I can't wait for that day. I'll be glued. And I know the EFF are going to post these things for us on YouTube and everywhere. I cannot wait to be glued to my screen. I can't wait for that fighter, Unaledi, to wipe the floor with you, Jacinta. But anyway, Jacinta took to Facebook to discuss this lady. This lady is a Zimbabwean national. She's currently in Japan. Before she went to Japan, she was a student in South Africa at a South African university. For those that don't know, for you to become a student in South Africa, you need to do a number of things. You don't just wake up and become a student. Number one, you need to apply for admission to university. Once you get that admission to university, you need to take that admission letter and apply to the Department of Home Affairs for a study permit. Once your study permit is approved, when you're applying for that study permit, you need to prove that you have funds to cover your studies and your stay in South Africa. You need to attach bank statements with sufficient funds. That's what you must know, Jacinta. After you've done that, the Home Affairs, if they're satisfied that you meet the requirements, they will grant you a study permit. Right, you arrive at university. If you decide that you want to drive, or you've got access, or your parents can afford to buy you a car in South Africa, and you want to drive, you don't want to take public transport from South Africans, no. South Africans space. You want to drive, you need to obtain what is called a driver's license. How do you do that? You approach the Department of Licensing, the licensing department. You go there, you tell them, I want to obtain a license. What do they say? They say, okay, fine, you need to come for a test. Is that not so? You need to write your learners. Before you write for your learners, you need to get what is called a traffic register. How do you do that? You submit your passport. You don't just walk in and say, I want a traffic register. No, that's not how it works. You submit your passport. They check that your passport is a valid passport that is in date. They check that you have a valid permit, a study permit for that matter. We're talking about this lady now. I'm not even talking about people with work permits or business permits or aslams. No, I'm talking specifically with regard to this lady and her driver's license that she obtained in South Africa. After the licensing department confirms that your papers are in order, they issue with what is called a traffic register, which is what is then used to write your learner's license. Like everybody else, you have to write that learner's. After you write that learner's, you go for learner's lessons if you don't know how to drive already. You go for your test at the licensing department. You go for your test with your instructor. Then they tell you whether you pass or not. Everybody knows how the licensing department works. Let's not all behave as if suddenly we've got some type of amnesia. And we know that there are no foreigners employed at the licensing department. There are no foreigners employed at the testing stations. Right. We are there. You follow the process that everybody is following for you to get that license. Your license is issued. Remember, that license is not just issued from thin air. No. It is issued by the Department of Licensing, by Traffic Department. You get your license, then you start driving. You become a legal driver. The reason why they issue you with a traffic register number is because they are documenting you. Because you do not have what? A South African ID. You do not have a barcoded ID or a smart card with 13-digit ID number. That's why they issue you with a traffic register, so that it will be easy for them to assimilate you into their system. Now that's how it works. After you're done with your degree and you qualify in whatever qualification that you've got, you are free to go wherever you want as a person. Nothing stops you from traveling around the world. The woman now approached Japan. She wanted to go to Japan for whatever reason, whether it's work, whether it's what, we don't care. It's a free country. You can go wherever you want to go. What does she do? She approaches the Japan embassy. Where? In South Africa. You can only apply at an embassy in South Africa if you have the relevant documentation of South Africa. Jacinta, you've traveled first class. It's amazing how you don't know these things. You've traveled to other countries, but you don't know these things. Anyway, Sisotin, if you are a Zimbabwean, for an example, and you want to travel to France, you cannot approach the France embassy in South Africa if you do not have valid papers for you being in South Africa. Because they check. She did that. She followed due process. She got the permit or visa or whatever she needed to go to Japan. She arrived in Japan, and somebody that is used to drive, she wanted to drive. She approached the Japan embassy or the Japan licensing department. They said, "You actually, because you have a South African license, this will be very easy. You won't need to go through a very vigorous process. You just need to get a letter from the South African embassy confirming that your license is an original license, because we have no way of checking." Of course, each and every country is responsible for verifying its documents. That is why she went to the South African embassy. And for that stupid woman at the South African embassy at the back of that desk, shame on you, auntie or mama. Shame on you. This lady's story is very, very easy to verify and to confirm. If you really wanted to know whether she was legal in South Africa at the time that license was obtained, all you needed to do was to just check her passport. You could have seen stamps of entry in her passport. You could have seen valid work permits or study permits in her passport. You could even have gone further to say, "You know what, I'm going to make copies of this. Take your passport back with you. I'm going to contact the Department of Home Affairs to check if you were valid in the country at the time that you obtained this license. I'm going to contact the licensing department to check if this traffic register number is in their system and if it's valid. I'm going to contact the licensing department to check if this is a valid driver's license." That was all that was needed. Not that hullabaloo that you're doing. Sometimes you frustrate yourselves with hatred because you lack what? You frustrate yourselves with hatred because you lack knowledge and, frankly, education. You don't need to shout and make noise. Some of these things are very, very easy to check. If you wanted to check whether indeed she obtained the qualification in South Africa, you could have just asked her, "Which university were you studying with?" She could have said UJ, Wits, Stellenbosch, Cape Town, Rhodes, or whatever. All you needed to do was just to make an email to the dean of whatever at Rhodes and confirm, "I got so person here. They said they were a student from this time to this time. Can you confirm?" The person would have emailed back. Even a phone call. I mean, you are there at the South African embassy. Why don't you just pick up the phone and call South Africa and verify these things than to create this unnecessary hullabaloo? And Jacinta has got the nerve to write or give an opportunity to study. Who gave her opportunity? Because she paid her school fees in full. She was not on EFSAS. So what are you talking about? Of course, she went to the South African embassy in Japan. Where was she supposed to go? Because the license was issued in South Africa. Where was she supposed to go? Yabona about Jacinta ni dom. Jacinta is did. You know that video I made about that lady that went to the South African embassy in Japan and tried to get her license issue shorted? It has really brought out all sorts of people out of the woodworks, you know. And I like things like that because it exposes people, you know. It exposes how they think and who they are. You would think that somebody abroad, somebody that is in a country that is not South Africa, will have some sort of a capacity to appreciate the immigration laws and complexities and, you know, nuances. You know, you have somebody in Japan essentially dissing this young lady, saying, "Hey, this one and that one, hey, what, you need roll-on, yeah, Zimbabwe, yeah, we know that they don't wear roll-on." How? In Japan? You know, they say that travel broadens the mind, that people that travel are exposed. But I guess if you're a South African, even if you travel, it doesn't matter. Your South Africanness will just follow you wherever you are. Your hatred for your fellow Africans will travel with you to whatever country. Even if you land in Japan, it will be there within you in your heart. Even though you know that whilst you are in Japan, you are part of the minority, and when the Japanese look at you, they just look at you as black people, all of you. They don't care whether you are from South Africa, you are from Kenya, you are from Nigeria, you are from Uganda, you are all black. But obviously, South Africans have got this mentality that they are the better blacks. Anybody that has faced any immigration issues or that has traveled abroad and lived in a country abroad knows that the immigration issues are complex. It is not something that it is a one-size-fits-all, or that you can say it works like this, it works like this. Each and every case is different and is based on merit. What that young lady needed at this embassy was just an affidavit. She clarified that she just needed an affidavit because obviously on everybody's license in South Africa, it has your initials and your surname. She just needed an affidavit stating what her full names are. And for those that are saying, "Oh, this one, how can you have a South African license? How can you..." You need to read your own laws. For those that are going on to say that you cannot exchange a South African license if you're not a South African in a third country, please do not talk about things that you don't know. If you don't know something, shh, keep quiet. And you must also know that whatever you know is not a blanket fix. Do you know that a Botswana national, that is the thing, you move from one country, go to one country, go to one country, then suddenly you think you know everything. A Botswana national can leave their country of Botswana and go to South Africa, to Stellenbosch University, to obtain their masters, for an example. They can decide after completing their masters that they want to do a PhD at Cambridge University in the UK. Do you know that whilst they are in South Africa, a Botswana national can obtain a South African driver's license? You know why they can do that? Because they are legal in South Africa at the time of obtaining that driver's license. It's a legal document. Do you know that when they arrive at Cambridge University in the UK, they can submit their South African driver's license with their Botswana passport? Specifically, if their passport has got a permit that when they took that license, they were legal. They were legal in South Africa and they can exchange that license in the UK. Do you know that? So when you go around making videos telling people that there is no third country that can accept to swap a license if you are not maybe it's there where you are in Asia. Next time, before you start implying that other people need roll-on and whatever, look at yourself. Just look at yourself and also decide and think, am I most likely to sweat more? You might not need roll-on, you might need Botox in the underarms.
This is how South Africans behave. They feel like they know everything. Now they're already blaming the woman that, oh, you're in Zimbabwe, you're feeling entitled. But they didn't make research to know what the lady was actually talking about. This is to show you how dumb most of the South Africans are. They are so quick to throw you under the bus. They are so quick to criticize you because you're not a South African. This is how they are doing. Very xenophobic set of people. I wouldn't say all of them, but these ones that I see online, always trying to defend nonsense, they are the ones that are just causing problems for, an average South African that do not even support this match. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Please kindly share this video, like and subscribe.